Um, so my first idea is a linear, and the idea that I had and that I've always had is a dream within a dream, because what I want to try and focus on is psychological genre. So within this one, it's a young man. It's late at night, probably like early in the evening, and so he's lying down watching a video, but the video's about how to create and form your own dream. So basically, there's somebody talking on the video that's about, okay, this is how you can form your own dream, turn it into what you want. So when he's watching that, he falls asleep, and he wakes up in doing that and being able to do it. So he's forming his own dream and doing what he's able to do, and what's happening is that he's forming it, but he's getting tired at the same time, so he falls asleep within that dream. So when he falls asleep within that dream, he wakes up in a maze, or like kind of an open space, and he's running away from one of his fears. And it can be fear like either spiders or fear of something that he's scared of, like dying or something like that. So he's running away from it, and then he wakes up. And what happens after that is that he wakes up and he feels dizzy. So he wakes up back into the room that he fell asleep in at first. So he wakes up, gets a glass of water, and he's relaxing. But then we switch to the point of view where we're looking through his eyes. So the camera isn't looking at a room, but he's looking at the room, but he's not looking at him, so you can see through his eyes. And what you can see through his eyes is a young lady, and she's panicking, and she's screaming, she's on the phone. And what we realise is that she thinks that he's dead, or that he's in a coma, because he's not responding, because he's still asleep in reality. So it gets to that point where it's just really hectic. And yeah, and what I do with this is I'd use various camera shots, such as close-up, long shots, wide shots, to give the audience the kind of view of how drastic and how extreme it is. And I believe this is an open ending, because for me, for someone to see in that state where you're not responding, it can open to how many ideas, why, what's happening and all that. So yeah, that'd be my first idea. And this would be based in a home, not in a school, but in a home, because a home is where it's meant to be safe and where you're meant to feel comfortable. But with this, it wouldn't be comfortable, it would kind of be dramatic, and yeah. My second idea is, I got the idea from the Gunfighter short film, but this one isn't related to the way where the characters can hear the narrator, but there is a narrator over the top. What's happening is that there's a young girl, she's alone, she's finishing her work in school. There's a teacher probably sitting at the back, and obviously she's typing, and then she falls asleep. As she falls asleep, she wakes up suddenly, and the room's just dark. There's just her, no one else. The only light that is on is the computer at the back. So she looks around and she sees the light at the back. So she goes to the computer, and on the computer there's a set of rules, or there's a list of like directions. So she follows that. But as she's following within the school to follow the rules, she knows that there's something following her. She doesn't know what it is, but we do get a glimpse sort of that it's a person, like a young girl, that type of thing, but she doesn't know that. So obviously she's doing this and she's being followed, and as she's doing this, she wakes up just suddenly out of nowhere. But it's not the same girl. So the idea that I had is that as she's woken up, we switch to the other girl who's been following her. So what's happening is that it's switched to her, and then she's the main character. She's being followed by the main girl that was at the start. So it's kind of confusing. It kind of messes with your mind in a way that you think that this is about her, but it's not. But then the main girl who was at the start is following the other one. So it kind of gets really deep in that way, and I'm thinking of various ways that I can kind of show that and make it extreme. And this would be based in the school, and this would be a closed ending. And the closed ending for me, I think it would be that the girl who was meant to be following the other girl, she's kind of got like not a mental problem, but she's kind of hallucinating quite a lot, just randomly out of nowhere. So yeah, this is kind of the point where it just messes with your mind. The third idea is non-linear, and I think this one for me is one of the ones where it really is kind of deep, because for me it's about a young man, and it's a normal day, but nothing's normal with him. And what's not normal with him is that he can hear stuff in his head, and he can hear a single voice, not many voices, just one voice. And he's going through this day, and obviously hearing this voice has kind of traumatized him, and he's probably, not even probably, he's broken down into a way where it's hard for him to even concentrate. So after this, he's going in and he's hearing a single voice. And then we switch to the perspective of another guy, and he can hear a voice as well. And what we notice is that the first boy, he can hear the voice, the second boy, he can hear the voice. And they don't know what's happening, so they're both breaking down at the same time, and this goes into a switch. You switch between the two separate lives. And then we go to a flashback where it flashes back to the start of the day, and it's like a quick shots of what's happening through the day, and it gets to the point that they are, and then they go back to the place where they started hearing those voices, and then they both meet at that place. And what they realise is that they can hear each other's voices. So as they've been going through the day, they can hear each other's voices, and it gets really kind of confusing for them. And as they can hear each other's voices, it flashes back. And what I put down was that we finished with one of the flashbacks. They both start with how the film started. So, and obviously, as you can see, they can see each other. But the way that I put it down is that, so the flashback is happening, and there's a specific flashback that they both had that is exactly the same. And how it ends is that they both look at each other within that flashback, and it just goes black. So we don't know why or how they started hearing each other's voices, but we know that something weird's kind of happened, and this would be a cliffhanger because it leaves the audience in suspense of how did we start hearing these voices. And the last one for me was kind of based off. I'll tell you the idea because it's about a young girl. She's having dinner with her family, and it's a normal day. She goes upstairs. She starts to fall asleep, and as she falls asleep, she sees a bright light in her room. And as she sees that bright light, her eyes just shut. And she wakes up, and she goes downstairs, has breakfast. She goes downstairs and has breakfast, and as this happens, her family comes downstairs, but her family can't see her, and her family don't know who she is, but they can't see her, so she's screaming out to her family. Family's not responding to her. And then she sees another girl come downstairs, and the family's responding to her. And obviously, that girl's replaced her. And then we brought back to the point where she starts breaking down, she doesn't know what's happening. And then we flash back to the earlier in the day where she's following a girl, and she's kind of bullying a girl in a way, to the point where it's kind of broken that girl down to the point where she doesn't know what to do anymore. But she's bullying the girl about her family because she has no family, and she's probably like she's in care and that type of thing. So yeah, so it bites her back basically, with the girl being in her spot. And the reason for this is because it's shown through. For me, I think I chose this because it resemblizes bullying, and for me, bullying will always bite you back no matter what you do. And for me, it's a very deep topic because bullying is increasing every single day basically. So yeah, so I left this as a cliffhanger, and what I wrote was the whole reason this happens is because we're shown that earlier in the day, where the main girl is following another girl, mocking her about her family situations. This leads to her facing her own words in the other girl taking her place, and we don't know how. We don't know how it's happened, but all we know is that there was a bright light, and this is left as a cliffhanger. But yeah, these are my 4 ideas. Yeah.
Okay, you bet.
They're all extremely complicated, and I think fit them into your 10 minutes. But I really liked your second idea of the one in school, and then she's given a list of what she needs to do. But do you know how you're saying this girl's following her, and then she wakes up, but it's not that girl, it's the one who's following her. I think you could have it split personality. So she wakes up, she can still see through her body, but she has no control of what she's doing. So that girl that's been following her now has control over her body. Does that make sense? But yeah, I like your ideas. They're just very complicated for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I like the sleep one, and even though it is pretty complicated, I think visually you could clear that when he wakes back up, he's in a dream just by looking at particular things like sound. So maybe when he wakes up and he's in the first dream state, it's like there's no sound, or visually there's like a glow and everything, or just to make it clear. I think when he sees the woman panicking and she's all frantic, and if it was silent it would be really dramatic. So yeah, I think you could build on that really well. So anyway.
I was going to say, like, I like your first idea and second idea, but I was thinking with your first idea with the dream in a dream, you'd have to be really specific so that the audience know which dream that he's actually in, because it could get confusing when because he's waking up, then it's back in the previous one, it would get a bit complicated. So I could be careful in how for example, you'd have to direct your character a certain way in one dream so that it's differentiated from a different one. And with your second idea, with the girl following another girl in the school and stuff, I was going to say, like, if you did it as like a list of things to do, like what kind of things would you do? Like?
So like, on the list, it would say stuff like, go to this certain room, and in that certain room you should probably like find a certain object or a certain note or something like that. That kind of, do you know like when someone's trying to tell you something, but it's broken down into pieces, hidden in different places, and when you find it all, it fits into one reason. So I think there'll be like different notes and different objects that will tell her how she's got into this state and why this is happening, if you know what I mean.
But do you have like an idea as to like what she has to do, or why the lights went off, or why she's walking around the school kind of thing?
That's the thing. Like with that idea, we don't know. That's why it's left on a cliffhanger, because we don't know. We don't know why it's happening, but we know that she's just fallen asleep. And that's why it says that when she wakes up, it's not her. And it's kind of, I think I got that from an idea from a short film that I watched, that there was a girl and she thought a girl was following her. But when the reality came to check that, it was the one that thought, the first main girl was following the other girl, if you get what I mean. So it's kind of like that type of play. So it's kind of switching the roles, if you get what I mean. So like, yeah.
You should watch the horror film called The Others.
I think how Tage was saying, like, you need to make it clear how, like, which dream you're in for the first one. I think you can, like, use lighting to, like, really, like, make it obvious, like, which dream is which.
I like the dream idea, because I think you could expand it and just make it more like detailed for the full 10-minute short film, and I think that's like a quite an effective premise. Like, it would just generally quite a good idea.
I think the fourth idea was good, but maybe not like a lot of the stuff at the end kind of confused me. But I think the idea of like a family swap and the bullying, I think that could be quite effective. And I think if you kind of put a lot of thought into it, into kind of changing it so that it would work in a 10-minute thing, I think that would be really good. Just kind of those kind of more precise ideas.
I really like the fourth one as well, because how you said there's another girl in the house. It was all giving me a feel of green-eyed, the one that Cher sold. It's really similar to that, but obviously in that one he can still talk to them, but in this one the girl, she can't talk to anyone, like nobody can hear her. You could do something like the bullying is like the main topic basically, because of that. So everything's happened because the glow that you're talking about, that basically, I don't know how how karma is it, that,
Yeah.
basically something you can play around with that.
Okay. Okay, so a couple of notes I made. The first dream idea I thought was really interesting, and I like the fact you picked up on the idea that the panic at the end and the idea she could be in a coma. The coma thing was one that stood out to me, because if you made the dreams, and it's dreams within dreams, and you made each one a focus with the idea of bringing in this theme about waking up, then it makes sense at the end when he doesn't, that he's a coma patient, and you move out and you've just got this room of people sleeping. And you get this real kind of, imagine what all the other dreams are. And the exact question, if there's still brain activity going on and you're in a coma and can't physically move from it, what is going on? So you're kind of doing a kind of visual exploration of kind of what might, there's different types of coma patients obviously, but what might they be thinking? And so I like the idea of playing with dreams within dreams, And the idea that you guys came up with, the idea of playing with different layers of sound and using diegetic and non-diegetic kind of blend together, the idea of using lighting, because obviously as moving from one plane down to the others, it could get more nightmarish maybe, as they fall further down the rabbit hole. It's really what this is. So I thought that was a really interesting idea. And then the idea of just moving out of these complete glazed, staring blank eyes as you move into track out from a wide shot of just these beds is a really kind of sad and depressing kind of end, has its own kind of nightmarish element to it. Idea 2, I know I saw the same short film you did, and my big question there would be, would there be enough for 10 minutes? Because the original short film wasn't really that long. And I just think it needs something else, the conflict, to kind of pad that up, whether it's... And then if you do start to pad out the story, does it become a bit too convoluted then? Is there a bit too much exposition about someone following and then you go back and you tell the other side of the story? So you'd have to find a way to develop that didn't, from a writing perspective, didn't make it a bit too convoluted. 3, the idea of the two voices talking over. I think just have one character with a voiceover. One person in a normal everyday, and suddenly you get this kind of omnipotent voice telling you something about your own life that's suddenly shocking. And imagine how it could change your life. So a film's already done this. There's a movie called Stranger Than Fiction that opens with a voiceover suddenly starting narrating about this character's life, and he's like, what? And he goes little, and the little kind of monologue this voiceover ends with is, and little did he know that 24 hours from now, he'd be dead. What? And he just starts shouting and screaming at them. Now imagine if some kind of weird voiceover that only you can hear in your head told you you've got a day to live. What would you do? Well, you wouldn't go to school, for a start. Okay? And you definitely wouldn't be on time. So, there's those kind of things. Being serious for a sec, you'd throw away all those responsibilities and all the things, and you'd do all the things you wanted to do. And that's an interesting premise right in itself. Forget exposition, forget explaining why he's doing it. You've got this, and that's the kind of the idea of the gunfighter, is playing with the idea of, is it fate, is it free will? If the voiceover is telling you it's fate, because the voiceover is effectively God. But because then he's telling you before it's happened, is he giving you free will to act it? Now, ultimately, what you decide is those actions could lead to the character's death, and there you've got fate. But his actions could alter it, and he doesn't.
Are you trying to explain Donnie Darko right now?
Not really, I wasn't linking back to Donnie Darko, I was sticking with Stranger Things, but from Stranger Than Fiction. But it is that question, a little bit. But yes. And then, last one, Doppelganger. I really like the idea of the being trapped in a house and seeing someone else, taking your place and you being completely helpless. I think it's a really terrifying idea. But then, I don't know if the bullying aspect of it, felt a little bit kind of shoehorned a little bit in as a kind of reason for it happening. Would it just be more terrifying if it just was? And and finding a way into that. You could go non-linear in something that happened at school and blah, blah, blah. But I just think if you suddenly woken up, there's a film called The Invisible that kind of does that, and he's basically a character that's borderline on death somewhere else, and his consciousness is blah, blah, blah. But the important thing wasn't the consciousness and whatever else, it was these moments of him wandering around and seeing the things that are going on, going to school, sitting down and realising that it is just an empty chair, and people can't hear you, can't communicate, and those interactions of trying to talk to people and touching their face and not being able to, it's all kind of terrifying because you've just basically established the ultimate loneliness.
Also, with the last idea, with how she wakes up, I feel like the whole waking up thing, obviously like a continuous thing throughout all of the ideas, but I was like, it'd be more dramatic if she just came home from school one day and then someone else was already in the house already, so it'd be a bit more weird. Because if she woke up, it's a bit more. I get what you were saying with it, but it's very obvious that it would happen if that makes sense within a fiction world, where she just came home or she just went into one of the rooms in her house and just noticed somebody was there. It'd be more dramatic, I think.
Or even having the idea that with this person wandering around and on the interactions that they're slowly fading away. And that could be something you kind of play with, this physicality of them starting to disappear out of existence. That's kind of scary. Okay, great, thanks very much.